is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got with the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god!
Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Round 6, we are at halfway, and this is the Nürburgring, the green hell, or what we could say would be the green hell if we jumped onto the Nordschleife. We're on the Grand Prix layout circuit for the iRacing Grand Prix Series, the McLaren MP430s in action here this evening, this morning, this afternoon, wherever you are around the world. If you're joining us away from Daytona coverage, well, where have you been? This is where amazing sim racing comes to life. Last time out, though, here, my name's Jake Sperry, joined alongside by Cameron Dance. We were at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and there was already dramas off the start right there in the background there. A couple of drivers getting caught up in troubles, and then a couple more finding themselves in troubles at turn number 1. There you can see it, the big hit into the side, which was never ideal. We'll see this from the start. Medium compound tyres here as we take a look. Just the back stepping around there. Cam in the early phase of acceleration, and then a second accident then as Nielsen, I do believe it was, ran himself into troubles. We look now here at what happened to Luke Dowding, who had a little trouble on the opening lap.
Yeah, there was certainly a lot going on in the first few laps with drivers getting caught out by slowdowns and various bits of contact, and then we saw a few others getting caught out by contact as well. Dennis Branch getting hit from behind in turn 2, and then Chantel had a massive battle further down the order, and it was just an incredible way to get through the field as well that he had to do, starting a little bit down the order as well, and then obviously all sorts followed on from there.
Certainly did, and of course it was Chantal's home track last time out. You can see every time you go out there and battle, try and make sure that you gain that place. And on lap 4, there was another little attempt to try and make that one happen again. It didn't quite work, a little bit further down in the pack. It wasn't, though, such a good day for that driver there, Xabi Rose, who got the DRS open and looked to try and attack early. This was against Wood. He was trying to get through on lap 5 and did manage to get the pass done cleanly, but it wouldn't be all plain sailing here, as one lap later, they can see the back stepping out, and around he goes under braking. There was all sorts of trouble from there onwards. So now you had these different battles that were coming on through. Dowding again having another little battle in towards turns 1 and 2, this time with one of the Verinen brothers there, Samuli, and that one again running along to turn 3, Cam.
And it was just a matter of, unfortunately, having some moments, and again we saw a lot of passing happening at the hairpin, and then obviously drag races happening down the back straight with DRS, and even down the front straight as well, drivers getting bad runs and setting themselves up poorly. And we saw here that Xabi Rose was unfortunately making his way on through the field before what ended up happening was not exactly his best race today.
Absolutely not. You can see jams on the brakes into the hairpin and just can't get the power down on the exit. Big wiggle there was always going to be a little cause of concern. There's the F1 Apps car then that was in a little bit of a battle of its own as well, going down the front stretch towards turn number 1. That's an easy pass almost from the Blue Flag Racing car, just about managed through turn number 2 to pick up the position. And then lap 12 came along, another spin for Xabi Rose, this time spread eagle across the circuit, and there was the battle that went through the middle of that around both sides to try and make sure that there were no dramas at all to speak of then at that moment. But everyone was just trying to keep themselves in the right position, and there was the third incident that Xabi Rose got caught in there, just running into the back of another driver, trying to avoid someone who had gone off there in the background. And there were more dramas then, straight on and into the wall, out of the race. That's how easily it can go wrong here at Montreal.
It certainly can, and after the pit stops it really started to heat up throughout the field, and especially for Cedric Beale and Dowding, who decided to have quite the tussle for the next few laps, and then Dowding made his way by on Marquez as well down at the back straight, and Dowding did get a few positions in the end as well, so he didn't have too bad of a race, but it was quite good down the back as well, especially with the likes of John Pat Kelly and Nathaniel Porter, who did a number of side-by-side moments and battled very hard in the closing stages of the race. Didn't leave each other alone at all, but In the end, Nathaniel Porter managed to finally get the spot just at the very end, though.
Yep, and on the last lap, this is the move. He gets himself down the inside at the hairpin, trying to pick that one up and battle all the way to the line. It was one which really did cool down for the first time here, but there were no surprises about the driver who was at the front. Matteo Ugolotti with his third race win of the season here on SimSpeed TV, and walking ever further away in the championship picture as things stands. He is your race winner from round 5 at Montreal. As we head to the Nürburgring, round number 6. We zoom in on Germany here, and where the Nürburgring finds itself today. You've got the Nürburgring right in the middle, Frankfurt, Munich, Strasbourg, the likes of Prague there, of course, the Czech Republic, as you zoom on into the Eiffel Mountains and see exactly where we find ourselves today. There's a massive track that goes alongside it, but we're focusing on the Grand Prix layout here today. Some brilliant action that looks to get itself going. Of course, brought in 1984, a 3.2 mile circuit, 5.1.8 kilometers, and the runs here through the light of the Mercedes-Benz Arena is going to be key to trying picking up lap time today, as well as that final corner, which is going to be key. There are also 2 activation zones of DRS, the drag reduction system, so double the opportunities to go out there and make the overtakes available in these McLaren MP430s that they'll be running with today. We'll take a little look though around this track and see just how this can all start to form up a basis of what is a wonderful lap here at the Nürburgring, and this is how it is going to be stacking along here with the run that we have got today. On board then with the virtual racing school McLaren MP430, piloted by the legendary Martin Kroenke here on the brakes into turn number 1, the Hooghaken on the brakes. It really does drop at the apex point before you put the power back down again and up into the arena. Turn 2, you're always trying to fight to put the power down as early as possible. Then you hit the brakes again, third gear through turn 3. Then this 90-degree right, which feels a lot sharper than 90 degrees to put the power back down and on towards the Valvoline and Ford curves here. This very quick left-hander, 1 gear shift down. Now you're down on the brakes into third gear, hoping you've still got grip. Put the power down on the exit to the lowest point on the circuit cam, the Dunlop curve.
Yeah, certainly, and it's a corner that you can take many and multiple lines around and still get a very, very good run through. You'll find a lot of drivers probably try and square the corner off. Some will try and take it tight, but in the end, it doesn't matter because it's what's going to happen at the end of the straight after you come through the Schumacher S and the Michelin curve, because you set yourself up for a run down at the back end of the circuit and through the Warsteiner curve as well. DRS activated on the way down at the back, straight through the little kink as well before you head down towards the NGK chicane, and using plenty of curve on the left, plenty of curve on the right. Make sure you don't get too much wheel spin as well, as it's very bumpy on the exit of the corner, and then through the final corner, Coca-Cola to finish the lap off.
Exactly, so that's a lap around this circuit, and a brilliant circuit at that as well, the Nürburgring, one which always seems to bring itself to the fore. We'll take a look now out on track and see where everyone is at the moment. This is Matteo Ugolotti making progress over towards the start-finish line at this stage, and now gearing up for a big attempt here for flying lap. It is Tapio Markela who is at the top at the moment, 1:27.529, and Ugolotti looking for times then in the opening sectors. It is Markela, Wood, Oliveira, Beale, and Griffey Owen, the top 3 top 5 even, I should say, at this stage, with Weisbeck there in 6th position at the moment. But we'll see where Ugolotti can find himself. 27.3 in the opening sector cam and heading to the mid part of the lap.
Yeah, still hasn't set a time yet, so he's on his final flying lap, so really can't afford to make any mistakes here or getting off track or do something silly. So really does need to focus on just getting a clean lap in at least, rather than trying to make it perfect. But it's looking very, very good at the moment, using as much track as he possibly can, and it's looking very, very smooth too. So expecting reasonable lap time out of Matteo here as he comes through the back end of the section.
Yes, and now you start to think here, how is he going to go? Struggling a little bit there through that corner. He's really putting everything down. Markela is half a second quicker than anybody else at the moment in qualifying. He's had a stormer of a lap so far, but Ugolotti into the final chicane then, looking to try and pick up as much drive as possible for that final corner. Slight wiggle of correction, trying to put the power down. That wouldn't have been the most ideal, but how's the run to the line going to look here for Ugolotti? 27.5, the margin to beat. It's a 28.116. It's good enough for only the second row of the grid. So Tapio Markela looks like he's good. One driver there just pulling off to the end. We've got another driver out there on a lap at the moment. It is Tamas Shane at the moment, and Shane is really close to the timer, which will tick and expire. Ken Nielsen is also out there trying to find one more.
Yeah, he certainly is out there trying to find one more, and so is Ray Griffin as well. So still a few more to try and get their final laps in, but it's going to be very close for some of them. Ray Griffin's probably just barely going to get the lap, and unfortunately Kent Nielsen probably not quite going to be able to, as the timer is reaching 15 seconds left, and Griffin coming through the final corner to finish his final flying lap. Currently sitting P7. Does he improve? No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. So he stays 7th. Kent Nielsen's just about going to make it to the line with about 3 seconds to go, and puts a 38.4 down on the board and goes 13th fastest then. That is qualifying in the books, over and done with. And this is going to be how everyone starts putting themselves then into perspective here at this wonderful Nürburgring circuit, the mark of the halfway stage of the championship. So we'll get that up on your screen for you in just a moment here, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ourselves ready. It's Tapio Markela on pole. The Finnish driver is clear by nearly half a second over Matt Wood in second position, with Matteo Ugolotti, the championship leader, in third position, and Diogo Oliveira, the Brazilian, in fourth. It's Cedric Beal in fifth alongside Simon Schulze, with Ray Griffin and David Weisbeck making up row 4. Row 5 sees the F1 Apps car of Reynaldo Augusto, and then Nico Veiranen rounding out the top 10.
And you're going to have on row 6, Jorge Martinez and Nicola Lee, followed by Kent Nielsen and Stephen Chantal on row 7. Row 8, Klaus Semitz and Kleber Toffoli. And then you're going to have Ben Horrell and Thomas Shane, Erman Mugo and Jan Strutinsky rounding out the top 20. And then you have Bryce Simeon, John Pat Kelly, Andrew Nielsen, and Adam Webb rounding out the 24-car field.
A 24-car field with everyone looking to try and score as many points as possible towards the championship. In sim time is just about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It is 23 degrees, so it's cold here today with the overcast conditions that we find ourselves in at this moment. It's a 40-lap event. It's 202 kilometers worth of racing, with one pit stop required, not for fuel, but for tyres here today. And there's the start as we get ourselves underway, immediately flying. They're 5 wide in the middle as they go through. Oh no, there's drama. Everyone now trying to check up. 1, 2, 3, all in trouble. It's now become a parking lot there at the back. Horrell's got through that one okay. Markela's not had the best start in the world. He's dropped back a couple of positions, but immediately 5 wide into the opening section. I think a few drivers there were getting a little bit optimistic here on lap 1, hoping that they were going to get things going nicely sorted then through the rest of them. But Cam, that always was looking like it was disaster. Ugolotti's taken the race lead.
Yeah, it certainly looked like it was just going to end in tears regardless of who it was. And unfortunately, Griffin coming off probably the worst out of the lot after being turned into pretty much the entire oncoming traffic. So not the best start for him, but certainly been an absolute monster of a start for Ugolotti, who just has run away with it and just absolutely swamped everyone on the way into 2-1 as well.
Certainly has. So Ugolotti, Wood and Oliveira are all through on Tapio Markela then at the start of this race. Beal in 5th, Schulze in 6th position, and Martinez there in 7th place, looking to try and get into the mix. Simeon and Nielsen are on the medium compound tyre, as is Adam Webb. They'll be on the alternative strategy then here today, as Markela on the brakes. Oliveira is locking up at almost every heavy braking zone at the moment in that NVIDIA Thrustmaster car, trying to make progress through the final corner. So that's all just to keep an eye out on at the moment, but everybody just had to freeze off of that run, and there have been some great starts in that field. And Ben Horrell, once again with a good start, is up into 10th place off of that opening lap.
Yeah, he certainly managed to avoid all the melee that went on at turn 1 and on lap 1 as well, and has made some very, very big gains now, and is on the tail of Kent Nielsen as well. So he's looking to try and make some more gains here, and he's got a couple of cars not too far up the road as well. So if he can keep this pace up, he's going to be really in with a very, very good shot of a good race.
Reynaldo Augusto was just down there on the pit, so that didn't work for him in terms of the opening lap. But Simon Schulze wants to try and attack here. One Mr. Cedric Beal, as the German looks to try and get through the Frenchman and try and make that move and gain that position on the brakes into the Dunlop curve, the carousel-inspired corner before driving back up the hill, using a bit of curb there on the exit. Now for the Michael Schumacher-esque here, the left followed by the right. A lot of smoke there coming up from the cars in front. That's just them grubbing against the floor as they go on through that section. But Schulze at this stage is hoping that by every single metric that he can find a way through and try and get himself into position, because he's got no DRS until they cross the line next time around.
Yeah, so he's going to have to do a little bit of the old school way with having no DRS this time by, but we'll see what happens when DRS does get enabled. Marquez should be able to get on by with DRS. I'm actually surprised he's trying to get by in general, seeing as he's had some very, very good pace in the past, but nevertheless we'll have to wait and see what happens in this little battle.
Matt Wood sets the fastest lap of the race, 1:30.600 as Klaus Siemetz looks to dive down the inside of Ray Griffioen for 13th position here. On the brakes they go into the Hooghaken, then turn number 1, and you can hold the outside line around here, and Ray Griffioen shows that's why you do it, because get a little bit easier of a time there, Cam, to put the grip down.
Yes, certainly does, and it's a very interesting corner, that one, where the fact you can use either line and still make it work, and there you go, it's clearly showing that it does work either way, but still long ways to go, so you really kind of have to be a little bit patient in some respects if you're a little bit down the order. But Michael is actually all over the back of Oliveira at the moment, really starting to apply some big pressure.
He certainly is at the moment. We continue our focus then on Klaus Siemetz here as we look up towards that battle for third and fourth positions here. Oliveira and Markela together on track, looking to try and gain that time, but Oliveira is doing just enough, and through every corner that car is bottoming out and creating a whole heap of smoke going through each section. He has got that pretty much as low to the ground as possible, trying to gain as much as he can out of the ground effect of the vehicle.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's probably not helping, especially through some of these bumpy sections where it's quite bumpy in the braking zone as well. But Michael just not quite able to get the drive off the corner there. He's going to have DRS down the front straight though to close that gap back up, but it's not going to be enough in the end to get it past him. And running wide just ahead of them as well was Matt Wood.
It is Matt Wood, and that's going to bring him back into play then. That gap now extends up forward. It was 2.1 seconds. He's lost an entire second, missing the braking zone at turn number 1 at the Hooghaken. So that's not ideal, and there will be work to do for Matt Wood as he will try and make his progress forward. Is behind that, you got that 5th and 6th and 7th place battle. Jorge Martinez has had a good start as well. He's up a few places as he's now on the back of Schulze and Beal. But you would say at this stage that it's all about now just settling down into a rhythm. They've let the championship leader walk clean away at the front of this field in the opening couple of laps. And now you need to start thinking about strategy. 20 laps you can go soft. Anything earlier than that, you're looking at maybe soft medium for the strategy call forward.
Yes, certainly. We've seen that the mediums can work if you drive them right and look after them. So we'll see what happens in the strategy department for some of these drivers, but I imagine it's probably going to be soft at least for majority of these drivers. This battle though between Simeon Lynch and Cedric Beal going on very, very well. They were very close just before, but unfortunately Schultz not quite getting the run that he wanted out of the corner before they come onto the back straight. Now he's having to pay for it, but he's going to be close enough to get DRS at least both times down at the front straight, and he's going to open the DRS flap as Schultz and get a run on it. Beal's not going to go defensive then, not going to defend the position because he's going to try and hold it around the outside, but Schultz throwing it right in there and Beal holding it around the outside, and he's going to hold on to that position in the end.
Yeah, the strategy just about works then for Cedric Beal, but at this stage, Simon Schultze wants in, and now that Cedric Beal is starting to form a bit of a train here because you've got Martinez there in 7th position, Weisbeck is there in 8th place, and all 4 of these drivers are now starting to trip up over each other a little bit. Down the hill they cascade and in towards the lowest section of the circuit, and this is all about now just trying to stay calm with yourself when you're in this position 5 laps into this race, Cam, because it's very easy to get yourself absorbed in the battle and try and make moves, and if they don't work out, you're just hemorrhaging time over and over and over again. You can see 5th place all the way back to 12th is split by just 5 seconds at the moment, which means one small mistake becomes a massive one as we look right down a little bit further here. This is Chantal, I do believe, on the back of this one here. He's got Nicolas Le for a bit of company, and right now, 11th place would be quite nice for the Canadian.
Yeah, it certainly would, and he's got DRS this time by de Chantal, but not going to be able to take advantage fully and get a move into the chicane, unfortunately. He's going a little bit of front wing damage from what I can see as well, so that's probably going to be hurting him in some respects in terms of downforce levels and also getting enough straight line speed out of that car, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. But at the front though, Matt Wood really coming under pressure now from Oliveira into turn 1. And you've even got that battle just behind, as well as Beals coming under pressure from Schultz now a lot. It's really, really close at the moment. And like you see, one small mistake is just going to compound into a massive one.
You also had Horrell and Nielsen in a scrap. Ray Griffioen down then to the pits on lap 6 of the race. So that's a very, very early call for him to try and bring something out of this one. But for the moment, through the right and the left, this is the right coming up then for Simon Schultzer. He wants to try and get himself then past one Mr. Cedric Beale, A, S, A and P at this moment. Out of the range of drivers behind who will definitely want to try and keep themselves in the mix and hope that they have a top 5 in the offing to play with as well. So that's nicely working at the moment for them here, Cam, but the issue is going to be, well, how much time are they losing? They've already lost themselves 3.5, nearly 4 seconds to Tapio Markela in 4th place.
Yeah, that certainly is the big question. When do you decide to get a move on, and when did you decide to make a call on the strategy to try and get some sort of alternate strategy working? And that is really the big question at the end of the day, and it really does come down to what's happening in front of you. Schultz gets balked a little bit on the exit of the NGK chicane, trying to get the power down better than Beerland did, but just wasn't quite able to make it happen. And he's going to get a very, very good run though with DRS down the front straight as they head down towards turn 1. He's going to move to the inside. Beale's going to stay on the outside. Look at braking as late as he can. He brakes even later than he did last time, but managed to pull it up, and he actually gets the move done. But Beale's coming back at him, but he manages to get around the outside in the end.
Yeah, well played then by Simon Schultzer, but Beale's still not giving it up then in towards turn number 3. He still looks for the inside. Oh, a bit of contact as they go through. That was the end plate on the tyre that caused the wiggle, and Marquez thought he had his chance then. He got a race win at Silverstone, remember, but no, he can't find a way to get the move done and get himself up then into 6th place. Cedric Beale is fighting for everything he possibly can at the moment in this sort of race. Now looking to the inside, hoping there's going to be a move on the table. And again, it's no dice for Jorge Marquez as he now has to play the waiting game himself. Weisbeck now on the back. Nielsen will be next up trying to jump with Ben Horrell.
Yeah, certainly this battle is tending quite to the battle now, with more than just Marquez, Beale and Schultz involved in running wide as Marquez, and that's going to allow Weisbeck right on the tail of him now. Weisbeck's going to get DRS on him as this time by down towards the NGK chicane. Is he going to be able to take advantage of it? Not really, because of the fact that Marquez is going to have it too, but decides to just back out of it and try again on the way into turn 1.
Well, he's got time on his side at the moment. We're on lap 8 starting here of this race. Those who are wanting the medium compound tyres will probably be pitting around 6 laps from now, and around lap 14 of this race to get themselves through. DRS flaps open for both drivers then as they go across the stripe one more time and hit the jammed brakes in towards turn number 1 once more, and nothing doing just yet. But this is what happens when you find yourself in a huge DRS train like this. You find that you always have the same top speed as the car in front of you, and there is no room to really push forward and gain that place again. And that's why you see sometimes drivers get stuck, and that's when strategy comes into play.
Yeah, it certainly does. And what's going to happen between all these drivers, who knows whether people are going to try and push the softs a little bit further, or whether they're going to have to pit a little bit early and try an alternate strategy on the mediums. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But it certainly is going to be a very, very big talking point, one that's going to make or break some of these drivers' races.
Certainly will do, and I'm sure that these drivers will be hoping that their strategy call is the correct one here today as they push forward and hope to find as much time as they can. As we look at Imran Mughal here and Kleber Toffoli. Imran Mughal here is blinking in and out quite a bit, which is not ideal here for Kleber Toffoli, the Brazilian, who will want to get by and want to get by quickly here on Imran, but it's not working out, and that's a big spin there, half spin there almost from one, Mr. Claiborne Foley. He is really being affected right now.
Yeah, he certainly is. He isn't having really the best run at the moment, kind of struggling to find his way up the order at the moment, and really is struggling to get on by Muhal as well. But at the moment, Beal's coming under for attack from Jorge Martinez. He's going to launch it up the inside of him, and he's going to get that move done very, very easily. So Beal's going to lose another place.
He certainly is. Martinez had waited for that moment, and he finally pounces at the right time up into 6th position then in this race on lap 9 out of 40 revolutions of the Nürburgring. So well played by Jorge Martinez. He'll now be focusing on putting the head down, getting back to Simon Scholzer, who's pulled out about 2 seconds at the moment in this one. There's your race leader, Matteo Ugolotti. He's already got that gap up to 5 seconds at the moment over Matt Wood. Wood's got himself a bit of company at 1 second behind him. Diogo Oliveira, Markela just doesn't have that ability to translate what was an amazing qualifying into race pace.
Yeah, he seems to be lacking a little bit of race pace at the moment. It was 3/10 off Oliveira that last time by, and then only 2/10 off Wood. So he's kind of there, but just not quite there to get any sort of moves done or challenge for these positions just up the road from him.
Yeah, and it's those positions up the road which you really need to be starting to pick up here. It's starting to look like Ugolotti is on course for his 4th race win out of 6, and the first time we've had back-to-back winners this season here with SimSpeed TV. But for the time being anyway, now about this battle right now. 9th position, Kent Nielsen, as in front of him David Weisbeck, behind him Ben Horrell, and now it's all about now what do you do if you're Kent Nielsen? He's someone who does get animated, does have a huge passion for this sort of vehicle here, Cam, but in 9th position, up 4 places, this is probably one of the better runs that he's had this season.
Yeah, it certainly has, and he'll be happy to come away with top 10 here if he can keep going, or if he can do it even better, it would be even more rapt. So we'll see what he can do. He's not far away from possibly getting a move done on Weisbeck, and same with Beal as well, who's starting to fall off a little bit at the moment. He's really starting to struggle possibly with his tyres at this current stage, so we'll have to keep an eye on him and see what happens here and whether he decides to do a sort of an alternate strategy or not. But nevertheless, Kent Nielsen doing all right for the time being, just needs to keep his head down and keep doing what he's doing.
The leader of those on the medium compound tyres is doing well, but that's the battle for 15th place as Imran there just loses out. Imran Magal to Claiborne Foley, who jumps up to 15th, and now Tamashane is just behind and wants into the mix. Diving for the inside, but nope, you can diamond off that corner if you're Imran Magal, and it is working for him, able to pull away then with that dirty air effect, which really does show itself around a track like the Nürburgring. There aren't many real long straights, and a lot of the times you've got these high-speed corners to try and deal with, as Nicolas Lair still has mirrors of Stefan Chantal.
Yeah, certainly these two have not left each other alone, and Chantal still hasn't managed to get on by, so possibly these two really going to be making good friends with each other, considering they battled very, very hard last week as well. So clearly very, very similar on pace at the moment, and Chantal possibly just getting hampered by that front wing quite some time, well, quite a bit compared to what he needs to be. So really isn't helping him all that much, and might need to think about an alternate strategy if he wants to find a way on by.
If he wants to change that front wing, he'll lose 5 seconds, and I would argue that he's losing more than 5 seconds just staying behind Nicolas Lair and not being able to go out there and attack in clean air. That might be something that is worth thinking about here for Stefan Chantal, but if the damage he feels isn't bad enough, he might just be staying in that place and be happy just to be behind Nicolas Lair, someone that he battled last week, and just easing himself into this race and maybe having something happen in the second half of it at this stage. So that's worth keeping in mind at this stage as this continues on at this moment in time. We've got ourselves those top 17 all on the soft compound tyre and all trying to get as much as they can out of it. No retirement so far here, Cam, from the 24 as we go to the Motum Simulation replay here for you right now, as we don't go to the Motum Simulation replay for you right now. In fact, yes, we do. We've found the start of the race, and this is how it all came about.
Yeah, certainly, and you can see there Ugolotti getting an absolute monster of a start and just blasting by everybody on the way into turn 1 to move straight into the race. And then you saw that 5 wide contact between a number of them, the likes of Griffiano, Gusto, Shutinsky and a few others, unfortunately getting caught up in that with the fact that there was just no room for anyone to go anywhere, and unfortunately contact and shoot.
Certainly did. Renato Augusto very much got caught up in that. You can see 3 wide, 4 wide, 5 wide it was into that section. It was always going to jump on in. It was one of the good Earth cars actually that ran into those troubles. I think it was Nielsen potentially, or sorry, in fact, it was Ray Griffey-Owen who got caught up in that one. And it's just so difficult to find that space at that moment on the circuit cam because the track narrows into turn number 1.
Yeah, it certainly does. So you can go from being 5 abreast to suddenly you've only got room for 3. So unfortunately, it's one of those things that happens. And you can see it was a really good start from Marquez as well, around the outside of all of them. And luckily, he managed to avoid all the contact altogether. But unfortunately, everybody else on the outside, on the inside, just sort of got bottlenecked a bit and unfortunately had nowhere to go in the end.
Yeah, nowhere to go. We'll go back to live coverage here of your iRacing Grand Prix Series, round 6 of 12, with Ray Griffey-Owen in 22nd position, fighting it out with Reynaldo Augusto. The gap about half a second between these two at the moment as they fight for the minor positions in this race, both of whom have come down, made a stop, and there will be due one more in this sort of race. But you've got Tapio Markela at this stage in 4th, and he's now starting to get himself back into range here with Diogo Oliveira, who looks like he's used his tyres to get up to Matt Wood, but all of a sudden they're starting to fall away again here on lap 13.
Yeah, there's quite some pace differential between Oliveira and Markela over the last few laps. Markela's been doing high 30s, whereas Oliveira's been doing low 31s, but Marquez has had a little bit of something happen here.
Yeah, he got through on Schultz, and that's because Simon Schultz is the first driver here, Cam, onto the lane.
Yeah, which is very, very early, especially for softs. So possibly going for an alternate strategy here. We'll have a look in it, see what happens. He's staying on the softs, so he's going to go long for this next stint on the softs. Possibly his 2-stop strategy. We'll have to see what happens, but he's really going to be struggling later on in this race if he doesn't take another set of tyres, and is really going to have to look after them at this point.
This is a replay here of Oliveira and Markela. Markela found his way through. Was just wide running there by Diogo Oliveira. Missed his braking point. Tapio Markela easily slides on through, jumps up into 3rd position, and now work to be done to chase to Matt Wood in 2nd place. The gap is now up to 2 seconds at this moment in time, with more coming up on the horizon. There is Schultz. He has come back out on circuit in 20th position, and now we'll be looking to try and push away from Brice Simeon, who is on the medium compound tyre, and look to try and gain forward. Here's a 4-car scrap, though, that is looking increasingly dicey. It's with Tamas Shane in 16th. You got in 15th Imran Mughal, and then behind that you got Adam Webb on the mediums there, the big yellow tyres that he's got, the yellow rims to go along with that, and also in 18th place Andres Nilsson here, who will be looking to try and get himself up forward to the fight. And Mughal's under pressure here up the hill, because here comes Tamas Shane, the Pennsylvania native, on the brakes up into the chicane. That is as good of a pass that you're going to find there.
Yeah, Nilsson's going to get a run as well on both of them, and not quite going to be able to get a move done on Webb, though. Coming down onto the lane, though, is Mughal. So we'll see what happens to him and where he's going to pop out in relation to everybody once the stops are completed. But Nilsson not quite able to get the move done. Dives very, very late, though, to the inside on Adam Webb, and is just barely going to pull it up, but Webb's going to have the momentum on his side.
He is, keeps the inside and keeps the place for now, but he can cut back to the inside at 3. Not enough room for that, though. Didn't get enough of a drive, so stays like that, 16th and 17th position at the moment. Mughal has moved onto the medium compounder tyre, so that's going to be a 1-stop then today for Imran, who will be hoping that the mediums work out in comparison to 2 sets of softs and a stop. So that's just in the back of the mind at this moment in time. Ugolotti leads, 7.5 seconds clear at the front. Wood in 2nd, Markela 3rd, and it's Oliveira who finds himself in 4th position at this stage, and we are getting ever closer to that transfer point here, Cam, where it's between a 2-stop and a 1-stop, or sometimes even you could say here, all that strategy. In comes Matt Wood, though, from 2nd position. He's the first of the real leaders who's going to try and influence this race.
Yeah, he certainly is. So we'll see what he does from here. Got a long ways to go still to have those tyres go. So we'll see what he does and whether he can make those softs work right at the end, or whether he's going to end up on a bit of struggle street. Ben Horrell comes in as well to get his pit stop out of the way. So we'll probably start to see everybody start to flow into the pit lane, but we'll see what happens and see who can go the longest though.
Matt Wood back out on a 2nd set of the soft compound tyre. He comes out ahead of Kleber to Foley, now in 12th place. So a good stop by Matt Wood, and he'll be looking for a 2-stop. 1 stop for Ben Horrell. He's gone on to the medium compound yellow wall tyres, and will be now looking to try and make sure that he gets the pink and inspired racing point car moving through the field. Here is Andres Nielsen, but look who's there behind these 2 medium compound runners. It's Simon Schultz who wants to try and get himself through, and on the brakes they go into the left-hand corner. Not going to find that one then at Ford Curve. It's all about getting it on the exit, and that one not quite happening either there for Schultz, who is a little bit bogged down at this stage.
Yeah, he certainly is. Unfortunately, not really in a position he wants to be in at the moment, being stuck behind some of these cars that are a little bit down the order compared to where he was, as it's really going to help him once those he was around start to filter into the pit lane and get the pit stops out of the way. He looks right, but no gap going to be there present, so he's still going to be stuck behind. He's going to be losing so much time stuck behind Nilsson here, and we'll see what happens here. He's going to have DRS this time by. Both of them are due to the fact that Adam Webb is not too far up the road from Nilsson. He looks to the outside, does Schultz, but not going to happen.
Nope, not yet anyway here for Simon Schultz, who knows that he's just got to be patient here and take his opportunities as and when they come about. Those drivers in front are going to be going maybe 25 laps then on their set of tyres, and that's going to be another 10 laps. Now, we've caught this on the Motum simulation replay. This is Renato Augusto, and that's the end of it there, going around in the wall. That would have been at the Ford Curve on the exit, so it's not been a good race for Ronaldo. He goes through the right, looks to put the power down on the exit, and the back says, nope, I do not want to go that way. I want to go straight to the inside, and that's where Renato Augusto rested.
Yeah, certainly, and it's unfortunately not been the race that he wanted at all, especially being after being collected at turn 1, so back in pit lane, and I'd say that's probably going to be a DNF for him, unfortunately. But back to this battle just inside the top 10 and just outside the top 5, you can see here Nicola Lee doing reasonably well to hold on to the back of Kent Nielsen here. He's dropped Stephen Chantel, who's really starting to struggle on those tyres and with that front wing now, unfortunately, so he's starting to lose a lot of time. But Nielsen's going to set up a run here on Weisbeck, but not quite going to be able to get it done and not quite close enough.
Not enough confidence to go and make that happen, and now that brings Le into the fray then on the end of lap 16, the start of the 17th lap of the race, and now you try and attack off the exit, but again, that dirty air effect through the final corner is just not happening here, and Le again wants to try and make sure he's into a position, looks on the wide outside to try and attack off the exit of the corner, but Nielsen decides, you know what, I've got the line on the road, and there's nothing that Nicola Le could do. Had to back out of it then, had to just sit up and wait, and that's why you find these drivers like Nicola Le just stuck in this stage, and they need a lap, 2 laps to make sure they can jump up with the undercut.
Yes, certainly, and that undercut's really going to help some of those drivers who did pit early, especially once these sort of battles end up sorting themselves out with the fact that they're been going on for so long. So we'll see what happens, and Schultz still kind of stuck in that little battle. He's managed to finally get past Webb and Nilsson, so he's going to be on his way and be charging on to try and make up for lost time. But here comes Nilsson, not quite able to make the move though on Weisbeck in the end.
Yeah, trying to make the move, but again, Kent Nielsen, the Canadian, is a little bit stuck right now trying to make things happen here with a Good Earth style car. I believe one of the old Hondas is trying to be that level of responsibility with that sort of design. But here's the run once again. This time it looked a little bit better, but again hits the braking zone and can't quite find a way through. So that one happening again. Race leader though, down in onto the lane. That's Matteo Ugolotti, who decides after what is 18 laps worth of racing, he's in, and now Weisbeck is followed by Le into the pit. So that's another interesting one. Beal also diving down in for the stop.
Yes, everybody really starting to have to put some new rubber on and get their pit stops out of the way. A couple of them have carried on though with the likes of it. Chantal and a few others as well, so we'll see where they pop out in all this once they get those new tyres on, but certainly those who have pitted are going to have quite the advantage.
Yep, they certainly are, and they understand here with Cedric Beale jumping onto the medium compound. Weisbeck is there trying to go through. Now, what's key is Ugalotti's back on the soft as well, and where is Matt Wood in comparison? He brought the gap down to 4 seconds, as Horrell, who is now in 18th place, will be looking to go through. Now, this is a game of two halves, I think we're going to be seeing right now, because you'll have those on fresh soft, and those on fresh mediums, and it's going to be a case of, well, which is better, who can save a stop and who can't.
Yes, certainly, and who can save the tyre the best, really. To not have to do that extra stop is really going to be the big talking point, because that's a long and slow pit lane as well at only 60 kilometres an hour, so you really can't afford to end up making an extra stop if you're somewhere up the front of the field, especially the likes of Matt Wood, who's carrying on and doing his thing at the moment on those new fresh softs that he's got, but still currently got a little bit of a few more cars to pass in Ugolotti. Not too far up the road, but certainly is going to end up coming out in very close proximity to the likes of Markela, who's just in the lane now, coming off the jacks, and is just going to be exiting the lane, and Wood's going to actually jump him.
He certainly is. Matt Wood then, using those laps of undercut, has got ahead of Tapio Markela with work to be done. Keep an eye out, though, on Jorge Martinez in this race as Oliveira gets himself off the pits. It's been a slow stop for him as he drops way down the order now here to 7th position here. Nico Veyrinen in for the stop also, as well as Stefan Chantal. Well, it's Martinez you need to keep an eye out on here, because Martinez is primed for a soft run to go 20 laps on each stint. He is a master of keeping life in the tyre.
Yeah, he certainly is, and we saw that at Silverstone as well, where he used the overcut strategy to his advantage to take that race win. So we'll see what he can do here at Nürburgring, and whether he's going to be able to use the same sort of strategy and the same sort of mindset as well to his advantage. It's probably not going to happen based on how close Ugolotti is to him, but he should come out in roughly good distance, roughly around, I'd say, Markland Wood.
Yeah, and that would be the ideal here for Martinez, who's just been quietly getting on with his own race and putting the times in on the board. There is Ugolotti behind, who may have to make one more stop with how early he came in and made it work, so he'll be struggling towards the end. But in comes Martinez then to try and make that one happen, and that will allow Matteo Ugolotti to pick up the race lead once again here at the end of lap 19 and the start of lap 20 in this race. It is Wood in second, it is Markela in third position, and it is going to be Toffoli now diving into the pits, which puts Simon Schulze up into 4th place at the moment in this one for the time being, and he can be happy with the way that he's been driving in this one after such a great qualifying a couple of weeks ago at Silverstone didn't go his way. Finally, this race is starting to.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's starting to go in the direction that he was hoping for, and going to be sitting very, very pretty at the moment if he can just keep putting in some nice, clean, consistent laps, and looking after those tyres as well, with the fact that he did pit a little bit early compared to those around him. He should actually come away with a very, very good finish in the end. He's got Oliveira and Martinez hunting him down there, so we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens.
3 drivers yet to pit: Nilsson, Webb and John Pat Kelly. They all need to come down in and get their stops working in. John Pat Kelly on the soft compound has done wonders to keep that one going, allows Cedric Beale the chance to move through, and I think he's going to allow potentially more to dive on through. That's Weisbeck who's gone through on top of that. So those are 2 drivers who get a freebie out of John Pat Kelly, who's the sort of driver, Cam, who knows who he's racing against.
Yeah, exactly. He's been around for quite some time and knows all the drivers in the series pretty much, so he knows who does what and how to race each other, and knows exactly who's got what strengths and weaknesses. So we'll see what he's going to be able to do from here and how he's going to use that to his advantage. But you can see just up the road, Weisbeck and Beale really starting to fight quite hard here, and Beale's on the medium tyres as well, so he's going to have a slight pace disadvantage in some respects, but he's going to have longer run pace for sure, with the fact that those tyres aren't going to drop off as quick and aren't going to be hurting as much near the end of this race.
Absolutely, as we now see here, another little scrap from Weisbeck. He wants to get himself past Cedric Beale. He's on the more optimal tyre at this stage, which is something that he'll be definitely hoping to try and just win out with at this stage. But we'll see how that all plays into a factor, going through the left-hand bend once more and back onto the right at turn 4 to exit the arena, head towards the Valvoline and Ford curves. This is now about how you try and make things happen, and I am noticing here that gap is starting to claw back in for the race lead right now. Matteo Ugolotti's lead only 3 seconds here, as now you can see Weisbeck getting a really good run on the run towards that carousel-style corner here, the Dunlop curve, but again, not quite in a position to lunge for the inside.
Yeah, just not quite able to get the pass done there, but he's looking very, very close and going to try and set this move up. Building with not a great run through the Schumacher S. That's going to allow him to get right onto the back end of Cedric Beale as Weisbeck, and he's going to have DRS this time by both of them are, though, because of the fact that Adam Webb's just in front of them. But certainly the pace is with Weisbeck at the moment with those soft tyres. He's going to be tucked right up behind, looks to the outside on the way down towards the education cane, but not quite going to do it this time by.
Nope, not yet, but we're on lap 22 of 40 when they cross, so he's got himself 19 laps to figure out this move and work out which way he wants to try and make the pass and gain the places. There is still a lot to play with right now. He's got a 3-lead clover there on the front of the car as he hits the brakes in towards turn number 1, but again, it is the fact that you've got Adam Webb just in front, which is just equalising any opportunity of the natural pace of the soft compound tyres, and that's why those medium runners have done exactly what they need to today, because they are costing those other drivers who are just a little bit further behind.
Yeah, certainly those mediums really being the flying sandwich at the moment for a lot of these drivers who really do have a lot more pace. As Woods starting to have some problems here as he's starting to...
It's not problems here, Cam. He's actually closing and closing at a rate of knots.
Oh, you're right. Something's happened to Ugolotti. He's only doing 31s.
It's surprising, but Matteo Ugolotti here, I think, is in tyre conservation mode at this stage. He knows he's pitted early, and he's got to save the life in the tyres, and I think he's driving in such a way that allows him to save those tyres. He last pitted 4 laps ago. Matt Wood is firmly on a 2-stop call. He pitted 4 laps earlier than Matteo Ugolotti. He's confirmed to the 2-stop strategy. You look at someone like Tapio Markela, though, for an example, in terms of this race. He's probably best poised out of all of these drivers, 3.3 seconds back of the race lead.
Yeah, certainly, and does look like Ugolotti has some very minor front wing damage, so slight damage, but not quite sure where he's actually picked that up.
I'm not sure either. We haven't really caught it. It doesn't look like much here in terms of the damage at the front. We'll get a good look here as he goes on through. It doesn't really look like much at all that he is really dealing with at the moment with Matteo Ugolotti, but he knows that he's got to get the hurry up message here, and he is, because he is responding. He's found 2 tenths against Matt Wood, who gathers it all back up this section of road, and these drivers will be looking at each other going, well, one of us is going to have to try and win this race. They've all got 10 seconds over Simon Schulze, who's in 4th place.
Yeah, certainly. They all need to get a move on because the likes of Schultz and a few others are going to be charging through this field very, very rapidly, especially the likes of Oliveira, who's on very, very fresh tyres as well, remember. So he's going to be probably the best suited driver at the moment in terms of where he sits in strategy-wise.
Yeah, and Ugolotti has got himself back up onto pace then, so he's got reason to be happy at this moment in time. Look at the train, though, behind Adam Webb in 8th position right now. He just set the fastest lap of the race. Look at this. It is swarming behind him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drivers, all on the same piece of real estate, working out, no, this is my track. Here comes Cedric Beale down to the inside in the MXS car, trying to make this one work. And out of the way, you're going to have to go round the outside, goes Weisbeck. He picks that one up. Driver in front dives down for the pits. That's Andres Nielsen then deciding that it's his time to go and make a stop. But everybody else then staying out, making sure that it's all working. And now you've got the likes of Horrell trying to find a position. Nicola Lett trying to make things happen. It's Horrell who looks the most likely here. Look at that, hard to the inside. They're going to go straight on, and off goes all 4 of them. They're into the grass, in the gravel even. It looks like Kimi Räikkönen with Jensen Button, except they all make contact.
It wasn't ideal. Webb got absolutely drilled from out of nowhere by Horrell, and Horrell unfortunately just getting on the grass on the way down towards turn 1. That was not what he would have wanted at all.
Absolutely not. This is what happens when you fight too aggressively then. So there is Webb He's getting himself then out of the way as he struggles on the medium compound tyre even. And now you can see it there. Look behind. Ben Horrell's going to be the key here, but for how aggressive he tries to attack on the medium compound here. He looks for the inside against his driver there. I believe it's Kent Nielsen he was potentially racing against there. And Nielsen was having none of it. He was driving to the line. And I have to say there, that was a case of Ben Horrell placing his car where it didn't belong.
Yeah, to some extent it was, especially, but that said, he did have a run, and by the time that contact happened, they did have some overlaps. So in theory, Nielsen really should have given some room, but in the end, unfortunately, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Matteo Ugolotti has gone into purple mode, 129.430. He's now 2.8 seconds clear at the front of this field because he knows he is working incredibly hard here in this one. Beal now looks behind and has Weisbeck there in 8th place. Klaus Siemetz now is up to 9th. Nicola Lett in 10th, and it's Kleber Toffoli who finds himself now in the 11th position in this race. So now you've got to look at Cedric Beal. He got himself just away at the right time to get himself through that, and now it's all about position making, and can you find a place here or there right towards the final 15 laps of the race when Ugolotti crosses the line, because this becomes now a race of 1 positions here and there. Finally finding the pits then is Kent Nielsen, and look at the front, completely demolished.
Certainly is looking like a very, very wounded car at the moment, and a lot of damage on that car as a result of what happened. A little bit of steering offset as well to add to the damage, so he's not going to be too happy with that. He's going to get back out though with a new front wing, so going to barely be able to hold on to finishing this race, but certainly going to be well and truly down the order.
Yep, down the order, but Weisbeck is still trying to attack then and gain that 8th position, or gain that 7th position even, from Cedric Beal on the medium compounder tyre, who wants to try and make sure that he can get himself calmly to the end of this race. Here comes Weisbeck thinking about the inside, but add Van Bogen and up in towards the NGK. It's almost like you need an extra 50 metres and you need to move that chicane a little bit further back, Cam, because it is very difficult to get the run out of the Vorsteiner curve to make it happen. In comes Schulze for his second stop.
So we'll see what Schulze does, but down to the inside goes Weisbeck on Beal, and he's going to get that move done very, very easily. Beal's going to try and hold around the outside, but just not quite going to have the grip that he needs, unfortunately. So that's a position gain there for Weisbeck.
Yeah, that's a very good position gained, and that also means now they move up into 6th and 7th position respectively. So Beal in 7th, Weisbeck now up into 6th place, and the likes of Martinez in 5th, Oliveira in 4th are having their own quiet races at this moment in time. So there's still a lot going on then that can happen in the final 15 laps here at the Nürburgring. The one constant, though, is that Matteo Ugolotti has the race lead overall, and it's now all about who is where. Schulze has come out of the pits. He's in 9th position as Brice Simeon then exits, does the Frenchman. He's now down in 20th position onto the soft compound, and this is not ideal at all for him as he tries to push on forward. But there is still time on the horizon to try and gain some more. Schulze in 9th. That would indicate that someone like Matt Wood, for example, would probably come out in about 5th place.
Yeah, so the two-stop strategy could possibly work here, especially with not too much, well, plenty of time left in this race, and it's going to really depend on what your tyres are going to be doing. We'll see if the front runners possibly do try a two-stopper and try and make it work, but who knows what's going to happen. We'll have to wait and see.
Who knows indeed. We are reaching that point here where Simon Schulze now has work to do on those softs if he wants to try and gain those places back again. Siemetz in his sights in 8th position, so there is still time on the horizon to go and work with and gain what is needed. Markler 5.5 seconds back at the moment here is not really doing anything to put any pressure on Matteo Ugolotti right now, who I think maybe might just be trying to extend those tyres as much as he can. Of course, when you've got these drivers on a fuel tank which does not refill at the stop cam, it does make life easier on the tyres the longer you go on.
Yeah, it certainly does. As that fuel drops off, it makes car lighter, obviously, and means that less weight's going to be affecting those tyres and causing them to wear as quick. So certainly is going to be one of those things that as you get that race on, you're going to be able to run those soft tyres a little bit longer than what you would have at the start of the stint when the car is a lot heavier and going to be wearing those tyres out quicker. So really it's going to be an advantage for those who are who are on newer tyres, and especially for the likes of Schultz and a few others who haven't made a second stop.
Exactly, so those with the advantage. Schultz now has to get through a bit of lap traffic here. That's Adam Webb. You can tell it's Adam Webb. It says Webb on the back of his car, which is very nice for identification purposes. But Simon Schultz then finds himself through and now wants 8th place A, S, A and P in this sort of race right now. The gaps are starting to open up a little bit. It is on 11th and 12th position though, just a little bit behind us with Nicola Lair and Nico Väyrynen. That gap around 8/9 of a second here, with Väyrynen having a quiet run so far here, Cam.
Yeah, certainly is having a reasonably quiet run at the moment. Hasn't really had any sort of pressure or anything to deal with. He's been just doing his thing, going about his own business more or less, and has managed to move his way through the field at the moment. Did start 10th and is currently 12th, so is it down positions on where he started, but still putting in some nice, clean, consistent laps at the moment and just doing his thing to get on through those ahead of him.
Oh, and Scholzer has a look at Klaus Siemitz at Valvoline. Not a traditional overtaking place there, turn 5. So that could have very easily ended in tears. They keep themselves going, and Siemitz again is looking at this one, thinking, oh, he's on the freshest tyres of anybody at the moment in this field. I could be in a whole world of trouble if things start to go against me and I go and try and defend this one a little bit too aggressively. Does defend that one though, coming out of the Schumacher S, so Schultz is not going to have everything his own way in terms of this battle. He knows he's racing for position.
Yeah, he certainly is racing for position, so he's got to work for it quite hard at the moment, and he's going to try and make it work, but...
Oh no, he's in.
And that is a secondary stop.
It is, so a second stop then for Matt Wood. He knew he couldn't make it to the end. He'll give himself 11 laps to go out there and attack. Now this really puts the cat amongst the pigeons on who can go where. So Wood now comes out in 5th position, about 5 seconds behind Jorge Martinez, and I would put that as a great benchmark right now for Martinez in the way that he wants to race, because if all those drivers in front do need to come down and make a stop, Martinez is poised in the right position. If they don't, it's all okay. Les got damage on the front wing. Here comes Väyrynen then to the outside, trying to pick this one up. But again, it's Les defending on the inside, trying to hold that one off. But again, it's all about drive off the exit here, inside of turn 2. Looks, trying to hold it, trying to hold it, trying to hold it. Les still going to try and get something done at turn number 3. But again, on the outside, nothing he can do. Position made then, up into 11th goes Nico Väyrynen.
Yes, certainly, and we'll see what he can do from here with the fact that he's now got a little bit of clean air, and next on his list will be Kleber Toffoli, who's a little bit up the road at this point, running slightly quicker lap times is it Toffoli compared to Väyrynen, but we'll see what happens regardless and whether he can get back inside the top 10 can Väyrynen. But certainly that second stop's really going to throw him cat amongst the pigeons, like you said, with Matt Wood pitting, and those ahead of him still not having come down onto the lane. So it's really going to be a matter of using those tyres as best as he can Matt Wood, and then seeing what happens with everybody else.
Exactly, and it's all about everyone just trying to find themselves a little bit of room. There's Stefan Chantal on the medium compound tyre as well. Would definitely wants to pick up those two drivers as those soft compound tyres start to hit a cliff later and later into their stint. So maybe, just maybe, this is the time where you start thinking it's ideal. And it was a similar sort of lap distance as well, where we saw one Mr. Chabi Rose's tyre pop off. Simon Schultz, fastest lap of the race, 1:29.427. That's a really, really strong lap to put that one over into perspective. So now you start looking at it and go, well, now every position definitely does matter here. Here comes another little look. It's not forthcoming then at this stage then for Chantal, who again has to wait.
Yeah, he certainly does have to wait, and back to being on the tail of Nicola is Mr. Chantal, and again, it's going to be Canada round 2, I guess.
Definitely does look like Canada round 2. So now we're starting to see here how Nicola cannot seem to get away from Stefan Chantal as they descend down the hill through the right-hand bend of the forward curve, and now all about power towards the Dunlop curve there at the bottom of the track. On the brakes as we take a little look from the rear wing's perspective here, and how Chantal can just hold that grip and able to just put himself in a position where he can put the pressure down in terms of this race, and you can see here Chantal looking every which way. He's trying to make his car as wide as possible in the mirrors to say, hello, I'm here, I want in, I know you've got a damaged wing. Here comes Schultz around the outside. He's trying of Cedric Beale. That's a little bit brave, but should have a nose maybe for that final corner. Or are you going to wait for the DRS? I think the answer is wait for the DRS, and this could be an opportunity now to move up another place and pick up another position, as Chantal couldn't get it done there on Nicola Lesser. Has to sit and wait once more in that battle, but here it comes at turn number 1. Once more, it's Cedric Beale just able to hold off for the moment Simon Schultz.
Yeah, it certainly is, but Schultz is going to try around the outside on the way through. Mercedes Arena is going to get it done, and Beale's gone off.
Well, hello. That was very, very peculiar. That's not a traditional place you go and have an off there at turn 2. Les got himself away then from Chantal, but I want to try and catch on the motor and replay what happened to Cedric Beale there, because that was very, very bizarre, a sort of moment. So we'll try and have a look at this as we go on through. It looks like we haven't quite caught what we've needed at the moment. We are still live at this stage with what we've got going at the moment. There's the move attempt then from what was going to be Chantal, but Beale, we just caught the back end of that again. Let's see if we can rewind that back just a little bit more and see how that all played about. So here's Cedric Beale. He's trying to go through, and all it's just like the back just stepped out.
Yeah, it certainly is. Just really, really odd situation that happened there, and unfortunately it caused him to lose a few positions. I did think he actually went off when I saw him disappear out of the shot, and did wonder when he was going to reappear, and there he was, unfortunately having to rejoin due to the fact that the rear end stepped out. Very, very easy to get those rears spinning due to the off-camber corner, but yeah, that's a really, really odd one.
Yep, Chantal doing exactly the same. He had himself a slide, caught the side of Nicola Le, had to do so again. Now, Matt Wood has the fastest lap of the race then on a 1:29.390 and is now looking ever more likely to close to Jorge Martinez in 4th place at this stage. That gap is 1.2 seconds, and Martinez is probably the safest as houses sort of driver for the one-stop strategy. You look at someone like Matt Wood, he's on a 2-stop, and he just needs to try and find a way through to make himself the safest houses driver to get himself over to the end. We're down to the final 8 laps, and there are no guarantees that every driver in this field is safe on their tyre life.
Yeah, that's for sure, and he's doing 29s compared to everybody else around him who's doing 30s, so he's got some incredible pace at the moment in those softs, with the fact that he's got a low fuel load and a fresh set of boots on there, so he's certainly going to be challenging Martinez in no time, getting on by him as well, so he's going to be very, very quickly moving his way through the field ahead of him, but where he's going to end up in the end, who knows?
Who knows indeed, and that's where Jorge Martinez is looking in the rearview mirrors at Matt Wood at this moment in time. He knows what he needs to do. He's got to defend, but he's got to defend against the fastest man on track. 7 laps, in fact. No, he will exit stage right with that one as he moves on through. That's a huge missed braking point, and that is just the sheer amount of pressure going through. Here comes Chantal now around the outside on the brakes, finally moves himself up into 12th place.
Yeah, certainly does. So finally getting on by Nicola Le is Stephen Chantal, is going to be pulling away from here on out. It was on the medium wall tyre as well, so he's on slightly harder tyres, but he's certainly going to be using that to his advantage later on in this race when those softs start to drop off a little bit for Nicola, who is carrying a little bit of front wing damage as well, so we'll see what happens with Chantal and whether he can catch up to Veyronen, who's just up the road, but nevertheless, he's finally won that battle, has Chantal.
He has, and for 12th position, he'll be quite happy with the way that he is running this one at the moment. There is Schultz in 7th, and there in front of him is David Weisbeck in 6th place from the Carolinas on the east coast of the United States of America. Now you start wondering here for one Mr. Simon Schultz. He knows what he wants. He wants that extra position. He went on to the 2-stop strategy, and I would say this would be a strategy well done if he can find himself that one extra place in the final 7 laps of this one to move himself into 6th position.
Yeah, certainly would be very, very happy if he can get himself into 6th place at the rate he's going. He is doing the same lap times as what Matt Wood is, so 1:29 currently. So it does have quite some pace advantage over David Weisbeck, who's been doing 31s. So that is a massive advantage in Simon's department.
It certainly is, and you start looking now here at those drivers who want to try and gain those extra places. Those who move on to that tyre call are doing quite well. Now, we focus back then to Nicola Le, who is just about holding off now. I believe that is going to be Tamas Jane here, because that's Andreas Nielsen who has already found a way through. So Le is really dropping back now in the late stages. But someone who's not safe right now is Diogo Oliveira, as Weisbeck gets closed right into by Simon Schulze in the battle for 7th and 8th place. It's worth noting that Oliveira's only got a second and a half now to Matt Wood.
Yeah, he certainly does. So that gap's starting to close down quite drastically at this moment. And that is that's a car from the background. Stratinsky off in at the barrier.
Yeah, and that's a big off there for Stratinsky, who is 1 lap down in this race. So not ideal in terms of his drive forward. But there is still time on the horizon for him to try and gain something back out of this one. But Schulze now gets the DRS, climbs it up the hill, wants to try and make this one happen. But he's not close enough just yet on the brakes. Weisbeck's got a really good straight line package, and it is working for him.
Yeah, it certainly is. It working for him very, very well. But then he does tend to struggle a little bit through these tighter sections. And as a result, you can see that Schulze is going to be all over the back of him on the way down at the front straight. DRS open for Schulze as well. Moves to the inside on the way down to turn 1 and gets the job done very, very easily. So another position gain there for Schulze to move into 6th place, and now it's going to be on the hunt for Marquez, who is quite some distance up the road, but whether he's going to be able to close that gap down is probably going to be quite likely based on the lap times.
Well, it's 18 seconds in about 6 laps, so 3 seconds a lap he'll need to find, and that is a Herculean task even at the best of times. So now more focus needed here, as up the hill we look right now, and there's the smoke coming off for the back then of, I believe that is Oliveira here, as we look at this one for 3rd and 4th positions here. Matt Wood we are on board with right now, and this is where the DRS comes into play. Wood on the fresh tyres, on the old tyres is Oliveira. Here comes the run then, looks for the inside. It's plain and simple, and that is just how easy you can make an overtake when you have enough grip at your disposal to go and play with.
Yeah, exactly. And again, the tyres really being the massive catalyst for Matt Wood at the moment, and really getting his way through the field. He's onto the podium at the moment, but whether he can hunt down at Markela is probably a little bit of a big ask, but we'll have to wait and see what happens.
That is Tamas Shane on screen, getting by Nicola Le for 14th place. So Le is limping and trying to nurse the car home then in the late stages of this one. We've also got Andreas Nielsen here trying to find a way past Stefan Chantal. Can't get that one done. Then on the outside, it is a waiting game, trying to make this happen, and it's just not happening at this stage for Nielsen, but he's still got 5 laps to figure it out.
Yeah, he certainly does have a few more laps to try and work it out, but he's going to have DRS this time by down the front straight. Looks to the inside, not quite going to be able to brake late enough, though. Chantal does run a little bit wide, though. Locks it inside front, and that's going to allow Nielsen to get on by around the outside. He's going to have to go the long way, though. Chantal's going to stay on the inside. Nielsen trying to do his best to get on by, but he's going to try a crossover now, running a little bit deep, but not quite able to make it happen.
Now, he left too much room there on that crossover. He needed a little bit more succinctness if you're going to try that, and you need to be a little bit braver if you're going to be trying to make that happen. We are down to the final 4 laps of this race for your race leader, Matteo Ugolotti, who leads by 6.5 seconds over Tapio Markela in second. There's a little lunge for the inside there by Nielsen, but it's not happening at this stage. He is there in 13th position. Unlucky for some, he just still can't find a way past the medium compound tyre of Stefan Chantal in 12th.
Yeah, he certainly can't quite seem to make it happen at the moment. To bear in mind, the softs might just start to be dropping off a little bit as well, so won't be helping Nielsen in that department, but he'll have DRS this time by down towards the Inchcape chicane as they head down towards there. He's going to look to the inside on the way into the braking zone. He's going to try and hold it there, but Chantal's going to sweep around the outside and stay in that position.
I've also just noted that Kleber Toffoli has jumped up to 9th place past Cedric Beale, who has been slowly working backwards in this one. So Toffoli now in 9th place will be very happy. But here comes the move again. Now towards turn number 1. Has to go to the outside to make something happen. On the brakes they go. And around the corner, it is going to be Nielsen finally getting the line that he wants. Gets the inside here at turn 2. Not much that Chantal can do anymore on the medium compound. That is the move completed then by Andreas Nielsen.
Yeah, might have had to wait an extra lap, but he's finally got the move done and will slot into 12th place. So finally, not too bad of a race for him so far, having started all the way down in 23rd. So doing all right for himself. But Martin is currently at the moment trying to hunt down Oliveira, who seems to be struggling a little bit on those tyres that he's on. It was a 30.4 last time by for Martinez and a 31.1 for Oliveira. It was a 30.9 that time by for Oliveira and a 30.2 for Martinez. So definitely got some good pace at the moment, does Martinez, and he's closing that gap down. It's debatable on whether he's going to get there in the end, but he's certainly going to try his best to get there.
Well, he's closing 7/10 a lap, and he's got 3 laps to find it. So a 1.5 seconds was the gap over the line. I reckon he gets there and he makes it. That's what he needs. He just needs to get within that 1 second window. That's a psychological and also a physical advantage in this one. Look at that, 0.9 seconds he's got there. And that's going to mean he's going to get the advantage of the drag reduction system, that rear flap which opens and makes the car more streamlined and creates less drag and means that you get more top end speed out of the vehicle through the right hairpin here of the Dunlop curve and back up the hill once again. Martinez is going to try and use that better life tyre, which he saved well in the opening stint and is doing so again here in the second stint once more. So through the next left, and now that right of water leads up. This is very much on at this stage as we keep the look on and we keep the eyes focused then on this scrap going on. And at this stage, you'd say Martinez wants every little bit. If he's not going to get it now, he's going to get it at turn 1, Cam.
Yeah, he certainly is going to get it at turn 1, and he's very, very close now, well within range of getting it the move done easily. If he can use the draft and the DRS to his advantage, gets a very reasonable exit. Not quite much better than what Oliveira did, but he's certainly going to have DRS this time. Buys a head down towards turn 1. Oliveira goes defensive late on the brakes as Martinez around the outside. He's going to try and hold around the outside. Manages to do it, but Oliveira's going to stay there. He's going to be on the outside, but through is Martinez, and Oliveira trying his best to get on back by, but not going to happen, and Martinez is back in to 4th.
Yeah, into 4th position and doing mightily well in 4th as well with that strategy. There's also the other battle here. John Pat Kelly is fighting out for 15th place with Nicola Le here as they come on towards their penultimate lap of this race. The driver behind them will be starting the final lap pretty soon, but on the brakes they go into the left and the right chicane then of NGK, and now about attacking off the exit. Les struggles there with the power a little bit, has the back end step out, and this is only going to allow John Pat Kelly the perfect time to strike while the iron is hot. He looks for it, DRS wide open. Les going hard to the inside here, trying to cover this off. So it'll be to the outside. John Pat Kelly tries to look for it here. And Les very deep, almost too deep on the brakes. But that is a great block defense there. He covered all of the road and a bit more of it.
Yeah, certainly. Really a mistake turned into an actual victory in that little department there. So he did well to sort of set himself up, not intentionally though, to keep John Pat Kelly behind.
Yeah, he's done well to keep him behind. We are now on the final lap of this race. Matteo Ugolotti, your race leader, and has done very well on the tyre call, keep himself relevant, but we focus on John Pat Kelly on his penultimate lap of this race because he's got an angle to the inside here down at the hairpin at the Dunlop curve, and you know what, he's found the inside of the place where many a driver has struggled to find a move there, and that is a wonderful overtake to put himself inside the top 15 late on in the day. There is Matteo Ugolotti, who has been once again superfluous in the way that he has been driving around this circuit. He has been pretty much like liquid here as he has been smooth and consistent and on the money with every single corner of every single lap. The start was absolute dynamite today to get himself up into the race lead, and from that point onwards he did not look back because he is the sort of driver that everybody else in this field just wishes that they could get close to in these sorts of races. One final corner to go. Matteo Ugolotti makes it 4 from 6. He takes the Nürburgring and one hand already on the title.
Yeah, certainly, and Dropbeck's going to start to come into play, so he's got himself in a very, very good position. Markler's going to come home second. Matt Wood's going to come home on the final step of the podium in third, just rounding the final corner. Now, Martinez has actually had a spin on out of the NGK chicane, so he's actually going to end up with struggling to get to the line, as Oliveira's going to be right there and thereabouts. It's going to be a drag race to the finish line. Contact between the two of them, and Oliveira is just going to edge him out in the end.
He certainly is. So Jorge Martinez losing out late in this one. It's not played out well, as Simon Schulze will come home to pick up the 6th place. Matt Wood did get the fastest lap on the final lap of the race, so he has that in the back pocket as well. But that is the sort of race which I'm sure everyone looked at and thought there might be something in it for me. Someone like Kleber Toffoli picking up 9th place is huge, but Matteo Ugolotti has every reason to be smiling here at this wonderful Nürburgring circuit with the way that he has driven today and the way he has picked up that result. We'll get confirmation then of result up for you on your screen right about now-ish, I would probably say, as Matteo Ugolotti picked up the win with 40 laps of hard graft and racing action. He won by 7.9 seconds in the end over Tapio Markela, with Matt Wood setting the fastest lap of the race in 3rd position. You don't get points for that in this sort of championship, though. Diogo Oliveira steals it at the end from Jorge Martinez, who was struggling with the tyres right at the very end, with Simon Schulze actually now being promoted up, because that is a case of potentially a penalty or going over the instant point limit there for one Mr. Jorge Martinez. He will be assessed a 30-second penalty at the end. So Schulze gets promoted to 5th, Weisbeck in 6th, and Seamet 7th. Toffoli will come up with 8th place, with Cedric Beal 9th, and Nico Veiranen rounding out the top 10.
You're going to go over the page, and Martinez going to come home in 11th due to that penalty. Nilsson going to come home in 12th. Chantal 13th. Shane 14th. And running at the top 15 at John Pat Kelly, with Nicola Lay being at the final car on at the lead lap. And then you go back to Kent Nielsen, Imran Muhal, and then you're going to have Ray Graffiel and Brice Simeon, followed by Adam Webb, Jan Shutinsky, Ben Horrell, and Ronaldo Augusto rounding out the field.
Yep, and that was 24 drivers who got themselves into racing, 22 of them finding the finish. Horrell and Augusto, the ones who weren't able to find themselves over the line. But that puts one half of the season then in the books then, right towards the end of January. But there is more to come on the horizon. The second half of the season is looking like it's going to be really hotly contested. But Cam, we do see how it's all been going so far. But who can stop Ugolotti?
Yeah, certainly. That is the big question. Who can stop Ugolotti on his championship charge? And he's been so dominant all season long. So we'll have to see if anybody can step up to the plate and challenge this man who's just been on an absolute rampage of wins and dominant performances.
Yes, and the only place you can catch that is here with us at SimSpeed TV. We head to the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps 1 week from now, 29 laps of the fabled Ardennes Forest track. So make sure that you keep your eyes out and peeled for that with us at SimSpeed TV. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe for more amazing content here. And of course, a massive thanks has to go to those who get it done for us, from Motum Simulations, who have been on the replays here today. And of course, from the likes of Jay Kennedy on the cameras, Cameron Dance alongside me. My name's Jake Sperry. It's Ugolotti's time to shine once again. It's a 4th race win of the season. He is walking with an air of confidence and dominance, the likes of which we haven't seen in a little while. He threatened it last season. He's now showing everyone what he's made of this one. And the Italian is just getting ever closer to one of those championships, which he knows that is pretty much on his resume as we speak. We'll see you at Spa in 1 week's time to see if the form continues or if there's a new twist to the tale.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's covering the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh
him.
my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get involved!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
God, what?